Techniques for coloring line art have evolved so much over the past decade that doing it the old-fashioned way is starting to become a waste of time. If you spend a lot of time manually coloring line art, you owe it to yourself to check out this tutorial. Who knows, you might get a few years of your life back. And if you're new to digital art and you just want to learn the basics of coloring, I'll cover that too. Some of these techniques require a drawing tablet with a pen, but many can be used with a mouse or touch input as well. I will also demonstrate with a variety of art software, starting with Photoshop. First, let's begin with the method of digital coloring that feels the most like traditional coloring. This method will work even if your line art is not separate from the background, and it even works for scanned line art that was drawn traditionally. Ideally, the background color of the object you are coloring should be white, otherwise you will get unexpected mixtures of color. You must also be coloring on line art that is 100% black. If necessary, adjust your black level to be darker. Whether your line art is on a separate layer or not, create a new layer above the line art. Name this layer Color, and be sure to name your line art to make it easier to work with layers. For this technique to work, you'll need to set the blend mode of the color layer to multiply. This will ignore white and only blend darker with underlying layers. Because 100% black cannot become any darker, it is unaffected when you color on top of it. As you can see, I can get an effect that feels a lot like drawing with a traditional marker on top of a coloring book page. Choose a brush that is 100% opaque, unless you want your color to build up gradually. Also, use a hard edge brush without much anti-aliasing to avoid feathered edges and uneven fills. Just like with traditional coloring, you want to overlap the edge of the line art. If you do not go close enough, there will be a gap between the color and the line. And if you go past the lines, it will look like it was colored by a kindergartner. Don't feel bad if you go over the lines. It's easy enough to use a hard edge eraser at 100% opacity to clean up any mistakes. If you are worried about accidentally drawing or erasing on your line art layer, you can lock it. Using a medium-sized brush that has sized link to pressure will allow you to get a wide range of brush diameters. This helps to work between covering large areas and very small areas. Still, you may need to change your brush size as you're working. Zooming in can really help to ensure you don't miss any areas. Using multi-touch, if you have it, can help you easily zoom without having to switch tools. And rotating the page can help you color at more comfortable angles. As you can see, as long as I keep the fill within the lines, I get a really professional looking result. Once your color is on a layer, you can easily change it if you like. You can either use a filter like hue saturation value, or lock the layer transparency and fill or paint over it. While this is one of the simplest methods, it does have some downsides. Multiply causes colors to blend darker where they overlap, so if you're planning on using multiple layers for your colors, that may cause some unwanted mixtures. Also, because 100% black lines are required, you cannot utilize color holds or line art that is a color other than black. Another consideration is how you will composite the image. If this artwork is going to be a layered asset you will place on a variety of backgrounds, then multiply blending is going to be transparent, allowing you to see through to the background. Probably not the effect you want. Therefore, this is not a technique I would recommend unless you have no other option. Many image editing applications can extract line art from a white background, but I would recommend that you start using separate layers for your line art. Let's look at a better method of hand coloring with a pen using separate layers for the line art and color. This time I want the line art not to have a background fill, and I want it to be above the color layer, not beneath it. I'll use a default blend mode this time, which will be fully opaque, so you won't be able to see through it. Again, you want a fully opaque brush with aliased edges for the best results. As with the previous technique, I want to overlap the line art, but not color outside the lines. Like magic, my color no longer interferes with my lines, so the line art can be any color I like. Depending on the application you're working in, you may be able to just color along the edges and then fill the center with a paint bucket tool. This will save you loads of time because the center does not require as much precision. But there's nothing wrong with coloring the whole thing by hand. Sometimes I like to feel like I'm coloring traditionally. So this is really just an aesthetic choice. At this point, you can modify the colors if you like, or use them as stencils to add shading by locking the layer transparency. This video will only focus on creating flat color fills. To learn about adding form with shading, you can watch my other lessons. Let's move on to another coloring technique. This time I will use Corel Painter. One of the first ways I learned how to color was with a mouse. I'm sure many of you here are working with a mouse, so this one's for you. While you could follow the previous techniques by coloring with the brush tool, you won't have the precision or size variation of the pen. So the better option will be the lasso selection tool. If you have a lot of dexterity, you can use the freeform lasso to select along the center of the lines. If your application supports a selection overlay, you can view a temporary fill, which can help you visualize the selection. Using the modifiers like Shift and Alt to work between add and subtract mode can help clean up your selection. Painter even has modes I can toggle to for this, so I don't have to hold down shortcuts. If the selection you're making is elaborate, you may want to use the Alt modifier to toggle to the polygonal lasso mode. As long as you're holding this, it will allow you to rest and take a break from making points. You may even want to utilize this mode for making sharp points. This modifier also works if you start in polygonal mode and toggle to freeform mode. You will have more control over the selection with the polygonal mode, but the selection will be more jagged. This is the mode to use for objects that have straight lines like architecture. For curves, it may be faster and easier to use the freeform mode because it has relatively smoother edges. Now that you have selected an area, you can fill it. Although not as fast or intuitive as hand coloring with the pen, this technique works fairly well, and yes, you can use these selection tools with a pen and tablet. Let's take a look at another coloring method that shares a similarity to working with selections. While most of us are familiar with raster or pixel-based art, there is another digital art format called vector that has some distinct advantages. Because raster art is pixel-based, the image resolution determines the maximum size it can be before the quality begins to degrade. Vector, on the other hand, does not rely on pixels. It is a mathematical equation that connects points with lines or curves. Therefore, vector has an infinite resolution. In Adobe Illustrator, I have imported some line art that I converted from raster to vector, but you can draw directly in vector applications using a pressure-sensitive pen or a mouse. As I did before, I want to keep my line art separate from the color and make it the topmost layer. I'll lock my line art so I don't accidentally select it. Then I will use the curvature tool with a fill and no stroke to create points similar to how I did it with the polygonal lasso tool. This tool can automatically smooth out curves, but you can also hold Alt to make sharp points. Again, I want to overlap my line art so that there are no gaps. If there are any gaps or overlaps, I can easily adjust the points of these shapes. It's also much faster to change the color of vector shapes and apply gradients to them. As I mentioned earlier, vector art has an infinite resolution, so if I zoom in very closely and then preview this image rasterized, you can see how blocky the pixel-based version looks. Many art applications will even allow you to combine pixel and vector art together for the best of both worlds. That brings us to the end of the first category of techniques, which relies on pen or mouse input to create the fill boundaries. Next are a grouping of color methods that utilize color tolerance properties to detect where there are lines and where there is blank space to fill with color. Many digital artists are familiar with the paint bucket tool. It has been around since the earliest art applications. Essentially, you use the paint bucket to click where you want to fill, and the color floods to fill that area until it encounters a different color or opacity. Most commonly, you would be filling transparent or white areas, and the black would be unaffected. In Rebel, I'll need to enable contiguous, otherwise my fill will apply to the entire canvas. Although it is often much faster than coloring by hand using any of the previous methods, the main problem with the paint bucket is that many art applications only allow it to detect differences in color on the line art layer. If you were to fill inside of the cells this way, there's a good chance that one of two mistakes will happen. First, the color may not go close enough to the edge of the black, especially if the line work has any anti-aliasing, which makes the edges slightly feathered. Or second, the color may bleed into the line work, replacing some of the black pixels. This can leave a very jagged edge where the two colors meet. And in many cases, adding consecutive fills will further erode the lines. There are a few ways to remedy this. If your paint bucket has an anti-aliasing property, disable it for a sharper fill edge. Next, you can adjust the paint bucket tolerance property which controls the range of colors detected. In Rebel, the range is from 0 to 255 because there are 255 HSV values. Reducing the tolerance will encompass fewer colors, and increasing it will select more. But you will still probably get fills that either go too far or not far enough over the lines. If your application has a paint bucket with more advanced features like Clip Studio Paint Pro, the best option would be to enable the mode that allows you to detect differences in color on all layers. Now you can fill on whichever layer you like. This goes by different names depending on the application you're using, but it all works the same. Now I can create a new layer for my color and fill with the paint bucket using the line art as my boundaries for the tolerance. You may still get color that does not overlap the line work, but now you can either increase the tolerance, or if there is an option for it, shift the edges of the fill by a pixel or two. Now the color should go just over the edge of the lines, creating a pretty good fill. Still, you may find that some very fine areas in the drawing were not filled. What's worse, many paint bucket tools do not offer gap detection, which means that if there are gaps in your line work, the fill will escape onto the background. Enabling gap detection may help, but you'll most likely have to manually close the gap on the line art layer or manually correct the coloring layer. I think it's worth mentioning that these methods can be combined, so I could get most of the coloring done with the paint bucket and then touch it up with the brush tool or selections. There is also a tool called the Magic Wand which utilizes color tolerance. In some cases, you may find it is more efficient to select the background and then invert the selection so it encompasses the entire line work. Again, you want to take advantage of filling on a separate layer and shift the edge so that it overlaps the lines. Some applications even offer vector versions of the paint bucket. These present fewer problems because vector lines are not pixel-based, so the fills should be able to go right up against the lines without any gaps. There are even some more advanced paint bucket modes, such as drag and drop, which can save time. Krita has this feature, as does Procreate. I can simply drag color swatches directly onto the cells I want to fill. Although fast, flood filling still requires a lot of clicking. If you're coloring multiple pages of comics or cells for animations, you'll need something more efficient than this. Here's where the advanced coloring techniques come in. Coloring tools have come a long way since the invention of the paint bucket tool. Many options now exist that can utilize advanced algorithms and AI or machine learning to intelligently detect differences in color far better than the traditional tolerance-based tools. Let's start with the most practical methods and work toward the more experimental stuff. Krita has a continuous fill mode that will allow you to click in a cell and drag across multiple cells of the same color or opacity to fill them. This will save you a lot of clicking. Next, there are the enclose and fill modes. These are familiar tools like the lasso or brush that can be used to encompass or paint over areas you would like to fill, and the software attempts to fill them to the lines. This tool allows you to choose specifically which color or opacity you're attempting to avoid or fill, so I can designate black as my line art and transparency as the area I would like to fill. It will likely take a lot of tinkering with the properties to get an acceptable fill. And as you move to other areas of the line art, you may have to adjust the properties again. At some point, all of this extra work sort of negates any time saved using these tools. So while they may suffice for getting some of your coloring done, you can't rely on them entirely since they are so imprecise. I have a tutorial you can watch if you want to learn more about using these advanced coloring tools in Krita. Another mode in Krita allows you to simply paint a little blob of color inside the cells, and then the algorithm intelligently fills to the edge of the lines. One of the advantages to coloring in Krita is that you can paint all of your color on a single layer, and then have Krita automatically separate the colors into individual layers with names assigned to each color. Although these methods have their shortcomings, they can still do the bulk of your coloring work with minimal effort. It's worth it to check these tools out because they could save you hours, days, months, maybe even years of your life if you spend a lot of time on mundane coloring tasks. Next is a category of coloring options that don't require much input at all. These rely heavily on machine learning to see the image and then decide how to color it automatically. The results can vary based on whatever parameters you give the software. It's worth noting that many of these methods require you to upload your work to a remote server where the image is processed. For that, you will need an internet connection. Clip Studio Paint is one such example. I simply select the line art, designate it as the reference layer, and the algorithm assigns it some colors. The obvious issue here is that it chooses colors that I might not want. And even worse, the color spills outside of the lines. I can create a color layer beneath the lines and use a few blobs with the brush to hint at the colors I'd like to be used, but even that gives me a huge mess with awful color choices and amateurish shading. While tweaking the settings for this tool might give you a slightly less hideous result, this technology is still in its infancy, so it still has a long ways to go. I'd say this method of coloring does not live up to the hype yet, but it definitely has some potential. I wouldn't be surprised if in a few more years, algorithms like this can actually color line art and have it be indistinguishable from a job done by a human. Until then, this is a neat concept, but the results are very sloppy and unintentional. Because all of the colors are on a single layer, I would need to spend considerable time cleaning this up by erasing the spillover and correcting colors, which would be more effort than I saved by coloring this way to begin with. Let's look at one more example of this method of coloring with an online app called Patalica Paint. I can upload my own image to colorize, but I will just work on a demo image. As with Clip Studio, I can paint a little blob of color over the areas I want to be that color, but with this application, the preview updates automatically. The results are equally messy. As is, none of this would ever pass as a professional or even amateurish coloring job. For that reason, I wouldn't recommend this method of coloring yet. But it could be useful to quickly preview color schemes that you can apply using the more precise techniques I showed you earlier. If you think about how unsophisticated the paint bucket tool used to be and how far it has come, it's really exciting to imagine what advanced coloring will be like in the future. There is no right or wrong way to color. It all comes down to preference. Personally, I prefer to use a combination of these coloring techniques depending on the project. I often gravitate toward hand coloring because it is so intuitive, and I enjoy the aesthetic of it. Plus, because I am custom drawing the fill boundary, I can close gaps and ensure that even the smallest shapes are filled. Despite all of the advanced coloring methods, hand coloring can be more efficient for complex line art. But as I showed you earlier, if I can save a few minutes or hours here and there using some of the other techniques to get the bulk of the filling done, I will do that. I don't see any advantage to filling in the center of large areas by hand. It's really just wasted time. For simple shapes that don't cause issues with the advanced fill methods, I would definitely save time and just fill using one of the faster tools. Especially if there are a lot of shapes like in this mandala. Hand coloring this would take a very long time. Alright, those were some techniques you can use to color your art digitally. Become a member and subscribe today for more digital art tutorials like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.